Well, hello you wonderful people, I'm Amy or AWayfaringFrog and welcome back to another Sims 4 speed build. Today we're actually going to be using the Casanova Cave kit for the most part. The refined living room kit also came out when I started building this, so that does feature a lot and I think it pairs really well with the Casanova Cave kit. And as a result, since that kit is themed very much around Don Lothario, who's a bit of a bachelor, bit of a player, this does end up being more of a house designed for a bachelor, I suppose. It does end up only being one bedroom as a result, despite how big it is. The other room I end up making into a gym. It's quite small, but you could use it as another bedroom if you needed to. But otherwise, I was just kind of trying to channel Don Lothario in an entire build. So that is what I ended up doing here. I made it a very modern style as well, so you can see that I'm going for very kind of boxy flat roof theme. I wouldn't say modern builds are builds that I'm particularly good at, to be honest. I don't do them very often either, but I really like how this one came out. Although this was the second attempt, I did end up bulldozing the first one, which obviously I didn't show on camera, but I don't really know what happened there. It wasn't working. So I figured I'd start fresh and try again, and I really like how it ended up coming out, so I'm happy that I did that. But since we are in the world of Oasis Springs, so it's really warm and sunny here since it's a desert area and the world is within base game, I figured I'd have a lot of outdoor space for your Sims to be able to hang out and just enjoy the lovely weather. So there are actually two balcony spaces. There's the one on the second floor and then the one on the top floor, as well as having a huge back garden with a swimming pool. So I'll add that in a lot later on. I was originally thinking about having a garage as well, where I've just put these two big windows, but it wasn't really working, to be honest, so I ended up skipping that out entirely. Just partly because we don't really have any garage doors in the game, and the ones that can kind of look a bit like a garage door, they weren't really fitting well, and then due to the fact that I wanted to use those Casanova Cave units that I've put in there with the TV, they ended up intersecting with the doors that I did pick out, and it was just a bit of a mess, so I figured I wouldn't bother, which is kind of unfortunate because it does feel like stereotypical kind of bachelor in that sense. Like Don Lothario would probably have a really nice fancy car, but there is nowhere to park that one here, so since there aren't cars in The Sims 4 anyway, hopefully it's not too much of a problem to you either. I do kind of hope that they don't bother adding cars to The Sims 4. I just can't see them working. I feel like it would be way too buggy, or it would just look weird since all of the worlds are designed to not have cars. So I'm not really keen on the thought of it. What I would love though, and Little Simsies kind of inspired this from myself, but having just a garage kit or something, just so that you can create the illusion of having a car and having a garage, but without the cars being functional. I think that would be a decent in-between, so that we can still decorate with garages and cars in mind, but I just can't see them actually being usable in-game, unless it was a bit like the bike from Growing Together, where perhaps younger Sims can learn how to drive a car in a similar way. But again, there's just not much space, and you're probably not going to have the space on your lot for your Sims to drive around in such a big vehicle. It's bad enough with the bikes, to be honest, because they end up just clipping through walls and fences all of the time. So it does look a little bit odd. So I'm really not sure about that. I am genuinely worried about the day cars come to The Sims as a result. So let me know what you think. In the comments down below. Do you kind of think they'd work? Are you excited for the idea of if cars ever do come to the game? Or are you like me and you actually fear it because you can't see it working? Let me know. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. I mean, if they could make it work and did a huge overhaul of all of the worlds so that cars could drive around in them, I feel like I'd be way more positive about the thought of them coming into the game. But that feels like so much work, they probably wouldn't bother. So I'm not really sure. But anyway, we have now got the main exterior of the build sorted, including the wallpapers. I'm now just sorting out the backyard, and as you can see down this side on the right, I've got this little covered walkway, which I thought was a fun addition just to add a bit more interest to the exterior of the build. I've also kind of surrounded it with these planter boxes, just as a fun way to get a bit more greenery into the build. whilst this is on the dusty turf lot, so despite it being called dusty turf, it's on a nice green grass lot. It's not like it's just straight in the desert areas of some of the other neighborhoods. So there is already quite a lot of greenery, but I wanted to have some kind of like little cactus planters, which is what I've laid out around the space here. And I think they look quite fun. I like that they're all very organized as well. It just felt right for a modern build rather than having kind of overflowing planter areas. I wanted it to be a lot more structured. And then for the swimming pool, I did end up putting some kind of like planter area around the edge just because I think it helped brighten up the space rather than just looking straight at a dark fence. And I used a lot of Riviera Retreat. I really do love that kit. I think it's so much fun, and I enjoyed these little waterfall rocks quite a lot. So I added those in, and then that little gazebo awning item that's also from the Riviera Retreat kit. It's quite ornate in comparison to the modern build, but because this is more for like a bachelor who's probably bringing people home to go on dates and things, it just felt like a really romantic thing to have outside, so I did want to include that here. And I love how the metal ironwork has little hearts in it too, so it just felt really cute and kind of fit the vibe of a bachelor's pad in my opinion, so hopefully you like it too. For the flooring as well, I did consider using this one from Desert Luxe, which is kind of 3 wide tiles, but I couldn't get it to look right. So I ended up opting for the flooring that I almost always use, which is just this base game one. I just layered it a little bit differently. So because the squares are 2 by 2, I try to, if I can't center it on doors and things, I just end up every other row, I'll just change up the orientation. So it also adds a little bit more interest, which I think looks quite nice. This is actually the last build that I started filming before I moved house in real life as well. So it's actually kind of crazy to think how long I've had this in progress. I started it way before I moved, around when that living room or refined living room kit came out, as I mentioned earlier, but pretty much as that came out was around when we started moving house. Ever since then, I've been trying to just get the other videos out, and then I picked up finishing the decoration of this yesterday as of recording this voiceover. So there was quite a lot of time between each section of it. Not that you could tell in the actual game itself, or I suppose if you're looking closely you might see some of the later or more recent items, like from that Blast from the Past event and the base game update that happened fairly recently as well. They do make an appearance as a result, but my main focus was those 2 kits, so I didn't really use those as much in here as a result. But anyway, we have now pretty much sorted out the layout of how I want the pool to go, and I think it's quite fun with this little corner that's been cut off to be able to fit in the rocks with the waterfall on. And I do end up adding just loads of little cactuses around the edge just to add loads of greenery, but still in keeping with the desert theme. Even though this is much more of a lush green area, I thought it was fun to bring in some more of the background items in the desert. I actually really like this back garden as well. I think it's nicely structured. And there's plenty for your Sims to do. I added in a grill as well, and then little pool floaties for your Sims to lounge about on. There's also the sunbeds, so they can, if you've got island living, they can try and get a tan there or potentially burn themselves. And then I also used the bar from the Desert Luxe kit. I didn't use the one from the Casanova Cave kit out here because it felt more like an indoor bar, but I do end up using that elsewhere. So again, the kind of theme around this build was lots of entertaining, so most of the items that I include, I kind of had that in mind. I also wanted to make sure there's plenty of woohoo spots, so I did go around adding those in. But I am now just landscaping with those cacti I mentioned, and I do cut quite a lot of it out because there's a lot of little planters where I end up putting these. But I think it ended up looking really effective and quite interesting, and I used a lot of the Riviera Retreat rocks just sized down a little bit to be able to fit into these small planter boxes. This is generally one of my go-to landscaping styles for modern builds like this in Oasis Springs. I think I did it fairly recently on my mid-century modern build for when the Cozy Kitsch kit came out. It's just fun to do, and I feel like it really suits this world, so I thought, why not? I might as well do it again. But as you can see, I kind of skipped ahead, so you didn't have to watch me place every single cactus in this, and I'm now just adding a little bit of clutter here and there outside. I really love this new tiny plant from the Refined Living kit as well. I think it's such a pretty but really simple one, and I think it would work in so many spaces. It's modern, but I think it could go in kind of a more cottagey styled build if you wanted it to. I really love it. I think it's so nice and so versatile. I'm really happy with a lot of the new plants that are coming in The Sims actually. Again, as of recording this voiceover, we've got the hobbies and small business expansion pack. I forget what it's called. It's a bit of a mouthful, but there's so many nice looking plants in that as well, or at least 2 that I've seen, and I'm really excited about those. It also feels perfect because I started a series where I'd sort of create smallish builds based on an item that your Sims can make money with in The Sims. So think like the cupcake machine or the fabricator or tarot cards. I've only done 2 of those at the moment, so you can find that playlist on my channel if you're interested in seeing those. But having the businesses and hobbies expansion pack is going to be so great. So I think the next one I do will probably be centered around pottery. I do keep meaning to put a poll up to get your thoughts on what else you want to see, so I will get around to doing that at some point, but I'm sure we're all going to want to have a look at the new stuff when it comes out, so definitely going to do pottery, and I'll probably try and have a go at doing a bit of a tattoo parlor as well, since that's the other hobby that comes in that expansion pack, which is really exciting. I've always been so disappointed at how few tattoos there are in the game, so it'll be nice to have a lot more versatility in that sense. But we have now finished decorating the outside of this build, so I've popped inside and I wanted to start in this big living room. It's so huge with that TV, and I found it kind of difficult as a result to lay out because it's kind of long and skinny, but I think I managed it in the end. I just ended up using the card table that came from the Casanova Cave kit, and then whilst we didn't get any armchairs in that one, these ones from Refined Living matched really nicely. And I went for a bit of a blue colour scheme, even though Don Lothario is probably more red in theme. I didn't necessarily want to make it for him, just inspired by, so I did go ahead and pick this colour instead because I thought it was really nice. And as I mentioned, it kind of matched a lot of the Refined Living items too, so since they were my main inspirations for this build, I figured I'd pick a more cohesive colour that worked with both of them rather than just trying to make it red. And let's all face it, blue is one of the best colours in The Sims 4. I don't know what it is about it, but all of the blue swatches are just so nice and they just work really well together. Plus this one has that darker wood tone, which I personally really love. I'm a big fan of darker woods. I do really like pale ones too, but I find myself tending to gravitate more towards darker woods in general, so that is my preferred decor style, with lots of lighter accents. I like this new rug as well, and I really love that the rug, which is from Refined Living, it's got kind of, it looks like it's been scooched about a little bit. It's not perfectly rectangular, and I really like that. I think that's fun. This was also, I started decorating it before I'd updated the tool mod, so you may have noticed a horrible looking UI there, but it was still functional at the time. I then did update it, I think before I came back to finishing off decorating this build, and then it broke again because of the update before businesses and hobbies. So I didn't actually have mods installed in my game at all when I finished off decorating this, which was a nightmare when it came to curtains, because I have a no snapping curtain mod, which I've forgotten who it's by. It is linked in the description down below if you're ever interested in any of the mods I use. But I really missed that one. It's probably my favourite mod. I kind of forget about its existence until I don't have it. And then the fact that all of the curtains try to snap to the windows just drives me insane because I'm so used to it not anymore. I think it might be Ravasheen who made that mod, but you'll have to check the description down below if you want to take a look. You can also see the description of the build down there, so if you wanted to download it from the Sims 4 gallery, it is just under my EA ID, which is AWayfaringFrog. It's also under the hashtag AWayfaringFrog, and you can find all of those details down below. You can see now though that we've pretty much got the dining kitchen area sorted. I did switch around what colour I wanted to use a bit. I do also switch out the chairs and the stools a bit later. They just felt too fancy, and I realised that there was a chair from the fitness stuff pack which kind of matches really well with that Casanova cave kit, so I end up switching out for that one instead, and I think it looks so much nicer. But otherwise, I do really like the modern vibe of these Home Chef Hustle counters, so despite the fact that the base game update came out and there were some new counters in that, I did still opt for these ones. Plus, as I mentioned, I don't think they were actually in the game yet when I started decorating the kitchen, so I didn't have access to them at that point anyway. But if you are enjoying the speed build, by the way, please be sure to hit that like button. It really does help the channel. And if you aren't already, be sure to subscribe and enable notifications so you'll know when I next upload a video. I always upload every Sunday at 5 PM Greenwich Mean Time, and I upload shorts every Monday at that same time. I was actually so worried I was going to miss this week's upload because we've been having a big old nightmare with getting internet installed into our new house. So that's been fun. Our contract with our previous supplier, it just became too expensive to have faster internet. So we didn't want to get locked in for 2 years with that contract, so we've cancelled it. And then the one that we're supposed to be getting, there's some issues with blockages to be able to get fiber installed. So they've been taking a while just because they have to jump through so many hoops in order to be able to dig up the road and sort out the blockages. And so we're still without any kind of internet. The only reason I have it is because we ended up buying a data sim and just sacrificing a phone as the internet. And I managed to find a way for my PC to be hooked up to that, since usually I use Ethernet. So it's been a fun little nightmare, but I'm really glad I didn't miss an upload. As a small channel, I just feel like I really don't want to let people down and miss an upload, and I love building in The Sims. I think this is such a fun hobby to have. So I was really sad that I was potentially going to miss another upload. Plus, because I don't upload particularly often, just once a week, I feel like I've got so many ideas and so many plans, but then new stuff comes out and I just don't manage to get it all done. So if I did miss an upload, it just feels like this build would have then got pushed further back because of course we've got the new pack coming out. So it's all been a bit of a nightmare. I did think we were all settled in the new house and I was ready to go back to normality, but apparently that wasn't quite true. There's still a lot to do, and it's just taking a bit more time than I expected, I suppose. So I'm hoping to be a bit more active on socials at some point soon as well. If you did want to follow me on either Blue Sky or Instagram though, you can find the links to my profiles in the description down below too. I'd love to see you there. Feel free to say hi. I always think it's fun catching up with people who are also interested in The Sims. So be sure to reach out if you do decide to follow me on either of those platforms. Anyway, I kind of talked over the entire bottom floor, but the kitchen dining room ended up coming together nicely. I added in those fitness stuff pack chairs, as I mentioned, and I think it just looked so much better. I did like having the gold accents here and there, but the items from the Life and Death expansion pack, they just felt too gold. So I did feel like the fitness stuff ones tied together so much better. And I did also cut out the small bathroom that's downstairs. It is just a toilet, sink and shower, so nothing too fancy. And it ended up being pretty much a mini version of what I do for the master bedroom ensuite. So I didn't really think it was worth putting on the video since this one was becoming quite long as it was. So I did skip that out. I don't even think I put it in the screenshots because it was so small, it ended up looking a bit weird, but you'll see it on sort of the last few screenshots where I do a top-down overview of the whole build. But I feel like bathrooms aren't that exciting anyway, so hopefully you're not too bothered about the fact that I skipped that one out. But we are now in the upper hallway area. We just finished decorating the outside balcony, where I made sure to put a nice little woohoo blanket, as well as some spaces to sit and look out at this surrounding area. Under the stairs here, I thought it would be nice to have a little book nook area. So I put some nice bookshelves from that refined living kit, which I love. I think they're so pretty. I really enjoy how many slots they've got as well, so it's quite easy to mix it up and make it look a little bit different despite the fact that the books are the same on each one. So it is pretty easy to clutter up and add a bit here and there. I think it's probably because there aren't any ornaments on it. I feel like a lot of the bookshelves in the game, which have ornaments already on the shelves, those ones are hard to tile together because you can clearly see that the ornaments are repeated across each one, and that's not very realistic. So the fact that it's just books on this one makes it so much easier to clutter. This is also my dream, having floor to ceiling height bookshelves, so I really like these items. They're a little bit like the Book Nook kit, but a lot more refined, we could say, from the refined living kit. But anyhow, I am just adding a little bit of artwork here and there into the hallway, and now we're jumping into this really small back room. It could be larger if you cut away the top portion. So on the top floor, I ended up just making the stairwell look down onto this floor. And so pulling out this wall meant it looked a little bit weird because you could see into both rooms as a result. So I didn't want to do that. So that is why it's very small. But again, it's themed for a bachelor, so I wasn't too worried about having rooms for kids because, well, then they won't be a bachelor. So they can move out at that point, or I guess convert their gym into a bedroom if they need to. But I just wasn't worried about adding more than one bedroom into this. And even the ensuite ends up being bigger than this little gym, which I find kind of funny. But it was just the best way I could work out to have the floor plan, so I did go ahead and use that. Also, this wooden wallpaper from the Refined Living kit, you might have seen it flash up just then. It's so nice. It's got really good texture to it. It is 3 wide panels though, or 1.5 wide, I'm not sure. But it just wasn't fitting as well as this one from Book Nook, which is why I ended up switching back to it. So even though I think the texture on the Refined Living one is so much nicer, it just looked better in this particular room to use the Book Nook kit, which I also still love. That is one of my favourite kits for sure. I really enjoy that one. But as you can see, I did end up using a little bit of the Comfy Gamer kit just for these little pegboards. I thought they were nice and a good way to add some clutter. And in a gym, there's not too much decoration that you can really do anyway because it's more of a functional space. So it was a good way to add a little bit of decoration here and there, but without taking up ground floor space where you need to use the machines and things. But we are now in the master bedroom, and I was a bit unsure on the layout of this as well because again it's quite a big room, and I ended up using this canopy from the Lovestruck expansion pack. I really liked how modern it looked, and it felt, again, since this is designed for a bachelor, it felt very in keeping with the kind of romantic vibe that I was going for, so I thought that was a bit of fun. I did also consider putting a TV opposite the bed, but partly because the canopy was in the way and the fact that I wanted to have a realistic amount of storage space for clothes, I ended up scrapping that idea, and I used these base game cabinets, which came in an update a few years ago now. They're one of my favourite closets. I think they're so nice and they're so versatile, and the fact that they're really skinny as well is just great. There's so many super bulky ones, so I like the fact that your Sims can actually walk past these easily and they don't take up too much floor space. I did also end up adding a little coffee machine and a small little fridge here because, again, that fridge came in the Casanova Cave kit. I wasn't really sure where else to put it, so I figured the bedroom might make sense, so they can like lounge around in bed and get some nice drinks. And then of course there's the balcony area just outside with that little blanket, and you can also access the stairway straight down into the garden if you wanted to. It's very accessible for your Sims in that sense, and I did make sure to fence off the entire area so you can lock your gates if you don't want random Sims just walking into your bedroom. I'm not too sure on routing though. A lot of Sims just in general tend to try and find the shortest route to places, so there might be some cases where they'll just walk through this bedroom in order to get somewhere. Like to the gym, for example, if they were already outside, they'd probably opt to walk through this bedroom. But again, I'm kind of envisioning only one Sim living here, so shouldn't be too much of a problem, and I don't think your guests would be using the gym. That just feels a little bit odd, unless you have a gym day. I don't really know. But we are now in the ensuite, and as you can see, it's pretty big. I wanted to use this bathtub from the fitness stuff pack. The colour scheme just matched really well with what I was going for, and then the fact that it was so big, it felt just suitable for Again, a bachelor pad in that sense. You can also see the little toilet that I'd created downstairs. I just ended up doing the same decor style in this one as down there, so I went through and picked out all of the items that I'd used. I did also end up using the open shower from the Lovestruck expansion. It's so pretty, I really like that one. I know we've got a couple now, but I think that one's my favourite just in terms of the look of it. There is also a new kit coming out for bathrooms. It's another one of these CC collaboration kits, and that one's specifically for a bathroom. I can't remember the CC creator's name, but I'm so excited for that to come out because that's got another shower like that, but it looks even nicer than the Lovestruck one. And I really enjoy decorating bathrooms, to be honest. I think they are quite fun. They're quite easy as well, so it feels very therapeutic to get it done. And I just feel good about it, to be honest. Which seems contrary to popular opinion, because a lot of people seem to find decorating bathrooms really boring and they don't like doing it as a result. But I think it's fun. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. But we are now on the last floor, so we are almost done with the speed build at this point. Thank you for hanging in with me if you are still here. But as I mentioned, I ended up using this bar from the Casanova Cave kit. I really like the colour of it as well. I thought it was a bit of fun. And I did consider using the dirty swatch because in this green colour, which I ended up picking, there was kind of a dirty one instead, but I just ended up deciding that I preferred it looking clean. It would be the only thing that was dirty in this entire build, so it felt a little bit out of place. But if you wanted to download this build and potentially have some storytelling to it, you could always switch out that in your own save file. But I am now trying to lay out this top balcony space. I end up using some more little sunbeds. I thought about putting 3 here, but it just looked a little bit weird, so I ended up going back to just having 2. And I grabbed an umbrella from Seasons just to add a bit more height to this area and help make it look a bit more defined, I guess. I did also end up creating a bit of a little sofa space, a little love seat area. I did use that one from Desert Luxe, which you can see next to the hot tub right now, but I ended up moving it over to the front of the build instead. It was also at this point that I remembered this little closet item from Lovestruck, which is a functional item. I do size it down and put it into the bedroom because I was struggling to find a place for it to fit, but I figured I need to include that in the bachelor build, so I did try and find a space for that, and I sacrificed the bin that I'd put in the bedroom. I'd only put that in there because of the mini fridge and the coffee machine, but I guess your Sims can just go down to the kitchen or something. But at this point, we have now come to the end of the speed build portion of the video. So if you did enjoy it, be sure to give the video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and enable notifications so you'll know when I next upload a video, which should hopefully be based on the new businesses and hobbies expansion pack. Also, let me know what you thought of the build in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But for now, I'll leave you with the screenshots. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye for now.